Welcome to the Brandinc PR Podcast, where we dive deep into the stories and strategies of today's most impactful entrepreneurs, business leaders, and professionals. Whether you're building your brand, scaling your business, or just looking for inspiration, you're in the right place. All right, and welcome back to the Brandinc PR Podcast. I am your illustrious host. Look, I have new adjectives and names every single week. This is fun. But yes, your illustrious host, Brandy Sims, also the founder of Brandinc PR. And today I have a special guest with me, Dayna Adelman. Now, did I get it right?
You got it right.
Oh, I love it.
Well done.
That's what I'm talking about. I'm so big on names, Dayna, and it's one of the things that it's your God-given name. It's your parents gave this name. Like, say it and pronounce it right. And if you don't know, just ask. I hate when people just go for it, and it's like, you could have asked before you went live.
I totally agree.
Save that courtesy there, Right.
Totally.
Well, I'm happy to have you here today, and definitely want to dive into your career as you are the founder of Dayna Adelman PR, as well as a writer. So we want to get into all of those things and what got you through your career, and also some of the wonderful things that you're working on now. Because writer, that is not insane, but I want to say insane, but it's like, you're running a PR agency, a PR firm, you're doing all of the things. And as an agency owner, I'm like, girl, I feel like I could barely run what I've got, let alone add writer to my credentials. Like, you are a rock star.
Oh, well, thank you. First of all, thank you so much for having me on. And I'm so happy to connect and to get to be a part of your magic as well, because I've been following you and your career, and don't sell yourself short, because you're doing amazing things. But yeah, super happy to talk about that all today, and just even go through the process about how I decided to write the book and how I made the time for it. Because I think that's one of the top questions a lot of people in our field ask me, like, how did you do this? Yeah. And happy to get into that today as well.
Love it. I love it. All right, let's get right into it. So, life is like a box of chocolates.
It is.
Dayna, you live by Forrest Gump's famous mantra throughout your career.
I do.
So tell me, was your time leading PR for HEINEKEN, for example, more like a smooth caramel center or a surprise nugget that you weren't quite ready for? You like all of this that I'm giving you?
I love it. I absolutely love it. It was all of the above, and it was like the full box of chocolates. And I think that's the way it's going to be in any career, no matter where you are. And that is just the nature of the beast working in PR, right? Yep. You're going to have great experiences, you're going to have good days, and then you're going to have some rocky days. But I think what I've learned along the way is it's actually those rocky days that if you can take the time to pause and reflect and realize, what did I learn from this? What made it rocky? And how do I make it better for the next time? Those become the caramel moments. Even though when you bit into it, you didn't know you were going to like it.
Ooh, I like that.
Oh,
so you've handled PR in the US, Indonesia, and even in Amsterdam for one of the world's most iconic beer brands. What's the wildest cultural PR challenge you faced? And did you ever feel like you were too young to be holding the mic?
Oh, such good questions. I'm going to start with the second part of that question. Did I ever feel I was too young? Yes, all the time. I started at HEINEKEN when I was 26 years old, and that was relatively young to make a move into an in-house position at that time. In fact, I had a lot of people when I was leaving the agency world at that moment in time tell me, like, you're making a mistake, stay over here for a little bit longer. And I just continuously took pleasure in proving those people wrong. I thought, I had the energy, I had the passion, and I had the desire, which was the recipe to just go and do it and make something of it. And I think that is the key to putting age aside and putting talent at the forefront, and not feeling, like you're less than just because you're younger than. And that was a wave that I rode from day one at HEINEKEN all the way through my last day, which was just a few months back when I decided to leave the company and take some time and do my own thing. So imposter syndrome, all of that, I fell victim to it. I'm not immune to all of the above, but staying true to your values and which sounds so cliche, but it's true. And just knowing your worth. And on your good days, acknowledging that it was a good day and that's why you're here, because there are going to be bad days that take you all the way down. So like really lean into the good days. So that's on the second part of the question. The first part, oh my gosh, so many cultural mishaps along the way, which are just so funny looking back. I think my time in Amsterdam, I was very privileged to work there twice. And the first time I was there, I worked in, it was a very global atmosphere, but there still was a high percentage of Dutch nationals who worked in the office, as you would expect. And the Dutch are known for their Dutch directness. So there's no gray. It's either black or white. And I think, as an American, we tend to talk, sometimes we talk in circles and we use, flowery language, and we don't exactly cut to the chase all the time. And as a communicator, in my professional work, I was so used to being a little bit more direct, right? Like be short, concise, to the point. But in my personal life, as you can probably tell, I love to talk. I love to tell stories. I like to be animated. I like to throw in fun language. And there were a few times where I was just met by like a complete blank stare or wall. And it's not that the person didn't understand what I was saying. They just couldn't fathom why I would go into such detail or why I was so animated, or like they asked a simple question. They asked like, how are you? Right. And that's like, I'm good, I'm bad. And I was like, oh, I did this today and I did that today. And so I had a few of those moments in Amsterdam. And then actually, I think the more interesting cultural experience for me was going to Indonesia, because it is so culturally different. I think it's a beautiful culture. It is a unique culture. And it's a culture that was very different to me. It's a society where they're community first over the individual. And sometimes in the West, we can be very individually focused. And I think it's such a beautiful thing. A lot of my team members and colleagues lived in these multi-generational homes. They lived, if their grandparents were still around, or their parents, and then they were now bringing their kids into this. And it just was, it was something that I enjoyed experiencing and learning about. But in a work situation, all of the things I learned in the Western world, like how to be more direct and how to like give space to others and let them, grow and become their own leaders, and not be so hands-on, was the complete opposite in Southeast Asia, where people actually are looking to the boss to tell them what to do, or to, in the Western world, we would probably think of it as like too much hand-holding, but that they do that from like a respect perspective.
Oh, wow.
So I remember very specifically having a conversation with my boss at the time in the early days of my time there. And I was like, I feel like I have to unlearn everything I've learned the last few years.
Yeah.
But I don't want to forget it, because if and when I do go back to the West, I need to then be able to flex and go back to. So it's just, these differences still exist in the world today. And it is such a beautiful thing.
Wow. No, that's incredible. That's incredible. And as you were just speaking, I was thinking about it. Like,
Yeah.
you know what? There is a big difference in just culturally how things are and how we navigate. And there is this individualism that's
Yep.
heavy
Yeah.
in the US, that, I need to be the star student and I need to do this. And
Mhm.
I need to show initiative, right? Because
Yep.
that's the one they always like to push.
Yep.
I need to show more initiative,
Yes.
or you need to, right? And then to go from the complete opposite, that's a learning curve in and of itself,
Absolutely.
and understanding their why and why they do it this way. But that's
Yeah.
what's received, and that's just kind of how things work.
Absolutely. And it took time. And I'm a person who likes to do things fast, and I like to, make sure that I master whatever it is, if it's like a cultural situation or, because I'm your typical overachiever, as I'm sure you are as well.
Yes.
And it was something that it's the American way. That is our culture. It's how we've been brought up. And I'm not saying that's wrong. It's just different. Mm-hmm. And I think that for the first time in my career, I listened real hard and I learned real fast, and it was not easy, but it was such a wonderful experience to be able to make that shift and to live in their world. And it was a great thing.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. So your book, The Youngest One in the Room, walks you through, or really walks us through, not walks you through because you already walked it.
I lived it.
You lived it, okay? But it walks us through your first decade in PR. What was one rookie, and I'm going to do the little air quotes, rookie mistake you made that still makes you like cringe? And how did it shape the powerhouse PR pro that you are today?
Yeah, so this book is chock full of learnings from the first 10 years, which you can imagine, like some are funny, some are ridiculous, and then some are quite serious as well. Yeah. I'm actually going to launch into one that's top of mind that might seem a bit more on the ridiculous side, but I promise there's a good lesson in it. And it relates to how we kicked off the conversation about pronouncing someone's name. So when I was interviewing for my first ever job, which was at a New York City-based agency. And I had been through a series of interviews, and I met with, final interview was with the most senior person. And I was like, okay, this seems to be going well. I really want to work here. So it was a phone interview. And when she kicked off the conversation, she started calling me Dayna. And she consistently called me Dayna throughout the conversation. And I didn't correct her because I was, 22 years old. I was really nervous. I wanted the job. I didn't want it to seem like I was an obnoxious millennial, trying to, because millennials back in the day, there was no talk of Gen Z. It was all about the millennials, and they're entitled and they're this and they're that. And it's so entitled. Exactly, right? And so I didn't have the confidence, and I just didn't feel like I could do that. And at the end of the conversation, I remember being mortified because, first of all, it's my name, right? So if you can't correct someone and take ownership of your name, like, how are you ever going to make it in this world? And so that was a lesson that stuck with me for a long time of like, I will never do that again. I need to figure out a way to politely interject and correct and maybe make a joke out of it. But like, I need to take ownership of these moments, because this was I'm not going to say it was a small thing. Obviously it stuck with me for a long time, and it was my name, so it hurt, but it was a meaningful thing. And it was a small thing that I could have done in order to change the conversation and put it on the right track. And that has served as a prime example for then how I've righted the wrong moving forward in my career. And sometimes I think the lesson in that is sometimes you need to go through those experiences to realize I'm here for a reason. I have a voice. I have an opinion. Why are you paying me otherwise, right? Like, you are paying me to do my job, to be here, to be at the table. And that's kind of the evolution of the whole, it's like the foundation and the evolution of the whole book, which is called The Youngest One in the Room. So it's all about figuring out, why were you invited to the room or the event or the client dinner, and seizing the opportunity and owning the moment, and then taking what you need from that moment in time to propel yourself forward for the future.
Oh, yes, yes. And I think that's something that can apply even now to Gen A as they're going through their experience, because, every generation, we did it too. We did it too as millennials.
We all did it.
We're the only ones experiencing this.
Yeah.
I'm the youngest here, and I'm treated like a novice, which to some degree we were.
We were.
Early. Okay?
I know.
We started to build, but we still got that young attachment, like as if we knew nothing.
Yep.
And so, yeah, no, I love that. I love that. And I feel like it ties so much into some of the challenge even that young people are facing now,
Yeah. Yeah.
as they're trying to navigate their career and really be taken seriously. I think that was the biggest
Yeah.
thing, is being taken
Yes.
seriously, because
Yeah.
you're showing up, you've been selected. So, I'm not here because I just popped up. I've
Yeah.
been selected to be here. So let me just work and
Work.
do what it is I've been selected here to do.
Yep. No, I totally agree. And if that doesn't give you enough of a confidence boost, then I don't know what else will, right? Like, you got the job. That's the hardest part, especially when it's your first job, or, you're making a career move and you're switching jobs. You made it through the interview process. And that's such a huge win. Then just let it flow from there. You're there for a reason.
There you go. All
Yeah.
right. So since you compare your journey to Forrest Gump's unpredictable adventures, okay, what was your run, Dana, run moment and where everything just went sideways? But you ran with it and you made the magic happen and you just got in there and got it done. What was that moment for you?
There have been a few, and I like to think that's what keeps it interesting, and that's why I continuously compare myself to our friend Forrest. But for this, I'm actually going to go back to a moment in Indonesia, and so I first landed, and I'm learning all about the culture. I'm trying to figure it out, and then I start to realize the team that was on the ground that I was joining, really wonderful people, really great in their role. But sometimes in an organization, a team who's been a unit for a long time and their leader leaves, it's just a natural change of course, that the team should probably be broken up as well. So I get there, and already before I started, I was made aware that two people would be leaving the team. They had resigned. So I couldn't take it personal, right? They didn't even know me. They didn't give me a chance.
Yeah.
And then when I get there, there were a few others who were kind of showing signs that they were on their way out. And I was like, okay, here I am, nail biter on the other side of the world. I don't have a network here. How am I going to rebuild? But it ended up, and that was, to me, I remember within my first 3 weeks being like, what am I doing here? Like, I do not fit in. I do not understand how this works. Mm-hmm. It looks like I'm not going to have a team in the short term. Like, what the heck do I do? Yeah. And I wanted to run back. I was coming from Amsterdam at the time, and I had a great job in Amsterdam and a potential opportunity to stay in Amsterdam. And I was like, get me back to Amsterdam. And I did a few things in that moment. I don't like to stay too long in my head by myself, because that is so unhealthy. So I've been working with a life coach for the last few years. And so she was like one of the first people I called. And again, she doesn't work in my field. She's never worked in my field. But that was actually, for me, that was perfect. So I had someone to talk to about it. And then I did speak to a few close friends and mentors in the field as well. Just like, what do I do? And they all reminded me to breathe. And they reminded me that I took this opportunity to be pushed and challenged. And that was exactly what was happening, in the best way possible. One day at a time. Start with a strategy. This is an opportunity. What do you want the team to look like? If you can start from a blank slate, is it set up the way it should be set up? What types of talent would you bring in? So I kind of very quickly rewrote the direction of the team, put it in front of my boss, who is the CEO of our operations in Indonesia. And he looked at me and he goes, this is great. Go make it happen. And then I was off, and I was working with our recruitment team, and I was recruiting, and it was not easy. And there were days I still wanted to run back to Amsterdam, but we did it. And we built this amazing team. And the strangest thing happened, because we had all started around the same time. We became family real fast, which culturally, as I was learning, that is the way to go. People really wanted to be, in their home life and professional life, part of family. And so we created this like really strong unit. And so when I did actually make the decision to leave for a variety of different reasons down the road, the hardest part was telling my family, my team. And they, everyone took it a bit hard, but I now have a family in Indonesia, and it just from going from a like run the other way, like and go as far away as you can in my mind to wow, I now have these people in Indonesia who I can call family is just it was an incredible moment to realize that.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's beautiful. That's really
Thank you.
beautiful. Well, run, Dana, run. I love
Run,
it.
Dayna,
That
run.
was the moment.
That was the moment.
That was the moment. Yes, yes. Okay, so you closed your book at the height of the COVID-19
I
pandemic,
did. I
right?
did. Yeah.
Arguably one of the biggest, communication curveballs of our time.
Yeah.
So if 2020 Dana could time travel to 2024 Dana, and really 2025 Dana, let's jump
Yeah.
that up.
Yep.
What's one crisis comms tip she'd beg you to share?
Great one. It was so challenging for everyone for every possible reason. I don't need to reiterate that you all lived it.
It was crazy.
Insane,
Tough.
insane. And I think the biggest learning in there that I would want to put on 2025 Dana to remind her if it ever were to happen again is not to forget to take care of yourself. Because I think, especially, I can't speak for what it was like on the agency side at that time because I was in house, but I felt like comms was put on the map in a way in which it never was before, and everyone was coming to us. They want, like, from an internal comms perspective, they wanted someone to tell them things were going to be okay. And it's like, I'm not a doctor. I'm a human going through this as well, but I understand the need. And it doesn't have to be me, but it could be our CEO, our executive team, just to have like constant contact and communication to let them know someone's out there, someone's thinking about them. But in doing that, I went so full force into like caring about everyone else that I forgot to take care of myself. I was working around the clock. I was not eating right. I was not getting any exercise. And those are the things where then you wake up like 6 weeks into it and you're like, I can't, like, what am I doing? I don't even recognize myself right now. So yeah, so that would be the big learning. Like, yes, do your thing, like shine and run the show, but like do not do that at the expense of taking care of yourself.
Oh, yes, yes. Some self-care. I think that's
Self-care.
important. Important, especially
Absolutely.
for comms pros. Absolutely.
100%.
Okay. So with
Yeah.
the recent ChatGPT scandal, so give
Mm.
some insight, some background. There was a PR firm that allegedly planted fake AI generated interviews. Yikes. That's terrible.
Jesus. Awful.
How do you think ethics and transparency in PR has evolved?
Such a good question. And I wish I had the $1 million answer to like, how do we solve this one? Because I don't think anyone's figured it out yet. Side note, I did take a course over the summer, just an online course through Harvard Business School because it was on the business essentials of AI. Because I wanted to just understand a little bit more on the tech side. And then there was a whole section on ethics and how do we handle this. Spoiler alert, fabulous class, you should take it. But spoiler alert, there's no answer from the textbook ethics conversation because no one knows yet. But what do I think personally? Look, that example you gave is, I think that's horrendous. Like you've got to have values as a business, and you have to do everything you can to save face for the profession, and that is not the way to do it. I think, though, on the other hand, we as comms professionals need to get more comfortable with using the tools because there are ways in which it can help and it can just make our lives more efficient. But one thing I learned from the class that I think is a good way to think of it, we are still the pilots we are the one driving the tool and not the other way around.
Yes.
So I think if you translate into like ethics, right, we should be thinking about the strategy. We should be thinking about the approach. And then if you go to the technology to help, maybe you're having a day where like you just can't think of the word, or you can't, and you fine, but like make sure that brief is tight so that what you're getting back is actually something that you could have written if you had the time or if you were in the right space, and then you're editing to make it your own. Don't just copy paste what the machine is spitting back out, because people can tell, reporters can tell, and the world can tell if you're just going to fabricate news stories that weren't actually out there. So I think, I think it's like don't ignore it because it's coming for us, but like figure out how to drive it and just stay in the driver's seat.
Absolutely. Well, do you think younger pros have a tougher or easier time navigating these waters than you did in your early days, kind of including AI in all of this?
I'm going to say something that's maybe a little bit of an unpopular opinion, but I think they have a tougher time, but I don't think they know that. So where I'm coming from with that, they've grown up. Take someone who's maybe in their senior year of college right now, and they are using these tools actively, and they're being told it's okay. This is the future. This is the value you're going to bring to a company. That's great. However, you get to the job and think about like your early days in PR and like what you were doing and how you were learning the ropes, and where you are today and how that set the foundation. So now if you've kind of taken a shortcut and you've never built that foundation, how can you, and this is a question, right? And this is where my head's at now. And I really would love to hear someone like give me a different perspective. Yeah. But like, if you don't have that foundation, then how can you be, like I said earlier, the driver? Do you have the strategic capability to drive, or are you becoming the co-pilot and letting the tool become the pilot? That's what I worry about. So yes, they may, like, you can do a whole reverse mentoring thing where they can teach you so much more because they've grown up with it and it's more natural for them. Yeah. But we still need to do our jobs as teachers to get them to a place where they're not just relying, and they're still building the skills that they're going to need to be successful in this profession.
Oh, yes, yes. You know what? As you were speaking, it just reminded me of a conversation I had with another PR professional the other day. And it was kind of the similar thing in that the students now and the younger generation now, they didn't really necessarily get the exposure like we did, right?
No.
So while they have access to amazing tools, don't get me wrong.
Yep.
Like, this is cool that you can just look it up versus having to go to the library. Because I remember we had to have a library card, girl.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You had to go 100%. Research.
Yeah.
Flip through pages.
You couldn't even like, there was no digital version of the library catalog. You had to like go find the section and it was a different world.
It was a completely different world.
Yeah.
So we really had to learn at its very root from the ground up to get to where we're at today. Whereas for them, most of them graduated around about that time. So everything was remote. So really digital is all they know. So they never got that real hands-on experience that they actually really needed.
Exactly.
So to your point, I think this is definitely worthy of more of a conversation of that tougher time, because really and truly you would think they would have a better time, but no, they have a tougher time because they never got that hands-on that they really, really needed of actually doing the thing,
I agree. I totally agree. And I do think that's one thing that worries me. I'm not closed off to change. I like to think I'm a very big embracer of change, but it's a worry for the younger generation of like, and maybe I'm wrong. And that's why I'm like, please, like, let's have a conversation around this, because maybe it's just going to be different from now on. And that could be too. I don't know. But for where we are right now, we're in this hybrid, like the tools are here, but still like, so are the people as well. And I don't mean that in a way of like, we're going to be replaced. I actually don't think we will. I think we'll find a way to all evolve in this new world.
Yeah.
But like, we're in this hybrid right now. And I think those who didn't grow up with it maybe don't know how to use it in the most optimal way. But those who have grown up with it have an over-reliance. So like, where's the happy medium right now?
Oh, you're
just
so spot on.
Super interesting.
It is. It is. The more I think about it, the more I'm like, you know what? We don't have enough conversations around this because there is that missing piece of the actual like working and doing these things that they're missing.
Yeah.
And what does that look like for the future? And that's really interesting too, because then is it that this is just what things are going to be now where people really don't write? It's just kind of a chat submission?
Right.
And where's the balance in that? And maybe this is the future.
Well, it's so funny you say that because I had a little bit of a mini heart attack a few months ago. I helped out an old professor of mine who was running a conference here in New York, where I'm based now. And and it was for comms professionals. And he had some students from local universities helping as well. Yeah. And one of them said to me, she was like, how did you ever do your job without these tools? And I was like, what are you talking about? And she was like, I never wrote anything without support. And that was like a knife to the heart because I love to write. And that's like the biggest reason why I love to write and I love to tell stories. That's why I got into this industry. So I was like, oh girl, we got to chat. Like, if that is not innately what you like to do, then like, I still don't think this is not the right profession for you. Like the face of the profession is not changing in that respect. Like, no, you have to be able to be a storyteller at heart. You have to want to do that and you have to have a knack for it. And that's where I worry that it's like, oh great, I don't have to have writing skills or I don't have to be creative. I can just let something else, because it's not someone else, do it for me. And I'm like, oh no, you're not going down the right path. We have to have a real like come to Jesus moment of like, what do you want in your life? Because this is not it. But that scared me.
No, and rightfully so. That's terrifying. But yeah, no, that's the basis of our field is you're a writer. You're a writer and you're a creative second.
Yeah.
You know, because through that storytelling, you're constantly creating something new, something different.
Yep.
And it's coming from a human perspective. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this as we navigate it. Forward,
Yep.
But also just to your point, you know, this is, I think, where we can be really good advocates for the younger generation in teaching them the ways. You have to write on paper.
Ooh, right. Like maybe try taking notes sometimes on an actual notebook. Not saying you have to. I know plenty of people who prefer doing it on their tablet or their phone, and like that's fine, but just constantly work on your writing skills, because whether you're doing it yourself or you are using some support tools to help you, you still have to have a good command of language and the craft. Full stop.
Full stop. Otherwise, kind of what you mentioned earlier. Why are they paying you?
Exactly.
If it was just going to be a robot, we could just do that. They're paying you and they're looking for your expertise because of that. Your expertise.
Yeah.
So that's the way to combat it. Absolutely.
I totally agree.
Okay, so reversement. Oh, go ahead.
Please go ahead.
Okay, so reverse mentorship. Let's flip it. Okay.
Yes.
As the youngest one in the room for so long, what's one thing that seasoned PR pros could actually learn from today's Gen Z and younger millennials? Well, I mean, younger millennials. We are
younger. Yeah. We're still young.
Even if though I wrote it.
Oh, good.
And Alpha, because I think Alpha is,
coming up.
Alpha might be 18 now.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're getting into
They're getting there.
First year of college.
Yeah. I think the best thing that we can the best thing we could do is make space for them at the table. So it starts with that, right? Like not looking at them and going, oh, like this young person, what do they know? No, they actually know a lot, and they grew up in a different world. And so they view the world differently, and their approach is different. And they're the ones who are going to teach us how to navigate this hybrid world we were just talking about living in. So you don't want to ignore them. You want to have them in your conversation. I think in particular, if you are either working with consumer facing brands or you are working at a consumer facing brands, like they are a big portion of the population, and soon they will have their own money. I mean, Gen Z, I mean, they're working, they have an income, they are your base in many situations. So like, stop trying to do what you always did because that's what you know. It's not working. And it's not working because you're not talking to their generation in the right way. And that is the moment, not just in this, let's say you have a product that is geared towards Gen Z, great. Not just in that moment, but in any moment, they're going to have a perspective, just as 15 years ago, I had a perspective and someone let me, show up to the meeting. So don't forget the what you've been granted, give it back and learn something from it too.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, writing a book is a whole different kind of PR campaign, okay?
Oh, yes.
You know this. So what has been harder? So promoting yourself as an author or managing multi-million-dollar brand reputations? Which one was harder for you?
100% promoting myself as an author.
Please.
Yes, it is. I remember talking in the early days with my publisher, and she was like, we have a lot of great references and recommendations for book publicists. And I laughed. I'm like, haha, this is what I do, obviously not specific to books, but like, no way, I'm going to do it. And like, I'm still doing it myself, but I'm at the point where I'm like, oh, no, this is so hard. I don't know. I guess I'm just not one of those people who's like, me. Let's talk about me, and which sounds weird because the book is about me. But at the same time, I found myself a few months back, like starting to write some pitches. And I'm like, this just doesn't feel good personally to be doing it for myself. I like when I get to talk to someone like you and we get to have a conversation and I get to talk a little bit about the book and the experiences in it. But I don't like having to push it in people's face. It feels way too self-serving. So I 100% prefer multi-million-dollar campaigns, global brands, like trying. And also too, I have to say, like, you write a book, you do hope someone buys it and you make a little bit of money off of it. But like, I've always had so much, this is something I loved about being in-house. You're close to the business. So like, your work has such a direct impact to the bottom line of the company. And you can feel that when you see quarterly, the numbers are going up. Mm-hmm. I just loved being part of that whole system and doing something for like a bigger cause, bigger than yourself and your one contribution. And so I think that's why doing my own PR for the book is like just not feeling so great, because it's not for the greater good. It's for my own good. I don't know if that's coming off right, but it's just kind of, it feels icky if I'm completely honest.
No, I feel, I feel the same way, not because of a book, but in today's world where we have to promote ourselves, right?
Yep.
To put our agencies, our firms out. It feels really, really weird to do that because
so
I'm used to dealing with campaigns. You're the star. I'm not. I'm behind the scenes. I chose this field for a reason.
Right.
But now it's almost like the way things are now, we have to put ourselves out there more. Yeah. And it feels gross. I don't know why. So I'm glad I'm not the only one. Is it
You're
us
not the only one?
Or is it just
could be. It could.
What?
Yeah, it could be. I think I think it has to do with like when you can share your success with the clients, maybe that like, and maybe it's like every person's different, but we sound like we're on the same page here. Like it feels amazing to do that and win for someone else. And like a win for someone else is a win for you. And then that feels good. Everyone feels good.
Yeah.
But like in this world, it's like a win for you is just a win for you. And I don't know, it just doesn't feel as
Yeah.
special. So
Well, you are
I,
definitely not alone on
yeah,
that, because
I'm
I
glad
feel
I
like
have a
so many
buddy
people feel
here.
about it. Like, oh,
Ugh,
I got to promote myself. Like,
I
why?
know. Like, how
Why?
does this? I know. I know. It's tricky. It's very tricky. So, yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so if Dana were a headline, okay,
Ooh.
let's say your career so far is a front page news story, right?
Okay.
So what is that headline? And be honest, is it more New York Times, or are we talking like
Mm.
BuzzFeed, like clickbait? Which one would it be? What would it be for you?
Oh my gosh. Oh, this could go in so many different directions. Because there could be the New York Times story, but there also could be the BuzzFeed story. And like, I'm going to
Yeah.
have to go with BuzzFeed and like a list
Yeah.
because I love a good list. And playing off of like how the book is written,
Mm,
I think
yeah.
it's going to have to be a BuzzFeed list with like the most ridiculous stories. So what is the headline for that? I think it's something like, um, oh, I want it. See, this is the problem. I want it to be good. So I'm like, let me think
No,
about this.
think on
But I'm
that.
just gonna
If Dana
spit
were a
this one out. If
headline.
I were a headline, um, I think it's gonna be something about like the truth behind what it takes. And this is gonna sound so boring, but like the truth, the real truth behind becoming the youngest one in the room, or
Oh, I
something like
like
that.
that. Hold
Yeah,
on, Dana. You're on the handling these multi-million-dollar campaigns. You know your stuff,
I
girl.
know, I
I
know.
like that. I would read that. I would literally be like, "Ooh, what's the truth? What's the real
Because
truth?"
it's like intriguing, right? And then
Yeah.
it could be a mix of like these ridiculous, like I'll give you a story. This is not in the book because it literally happened on Monday, but I went for a business lunch and you can't make this shit up. So excuse me, excuse my French.
No, we're having real
Um,
conversations here.
I know. But the waiter poured water and like we're engaged in conversation and I picked up my glass and all of a sudden I'm soaking wet. And I'm like, what did I do? You know, I could be a bit of a klutz. Like, did I spill the glass? Did something? No, the bottom of the glass fell out. Like I did nothing. I picked
No.
the glass up and it fell out. And then I'm covered in water and the lady I was meeting was covered in water. And it was just like one of those moments where it's like, okay, like okay, so what's the lesson in here? And the lesson was like, I laughed and she laughed because like it was just so ridiculous. And
Yeah.
now I feel like I have a new best friend because she will always remember we went for a business lunch. We got something like we actually did get something accomplished during the meeting, but like it started with us getting soaking wet. So it's like, how do you yeah, and like and then that like you laughed. I don't know if you were doing that to be nice, but like if you can tell the story in the right way, it's about like making people laugh and being real and just like shit happens, you know? Like
Yes.
I could have like cried, I guess, on the moment, but I just laughed because there's nothing else you can do.
Seriously, seriously, and
So
it's exactly what you said. Shit happens, but we don't ever see that.
yeah,
People focus so much on this perfection image, like
yeah,
everything is great. Everything's not always great, and you just have the
no,
most random shit happen. It's like I've got to write this down, because
yeah.
if I don't write it down, and if I tell somebody, they're gonna literally
They're
be
good.
like, "How?
How
What?
did this happen? Yeah.
It
And like
happens. It
it
just
happens. It totally
it happens."
happens. Like I'm not going to get into the story now, it's too long, but there is a story in my book about like one time I was on a press trip in Azerbaijan, which like I won't even get into the backstory behind that one, but I ended up with a group of reporters and we were going to look at these mud volcanoes, which is like a thing to do there, and just take my word for it. And I remember just like being like, how did I get here? Like, how did my university degree and my training lead me to this? But like, here I am in the middle of nowhere in Azerbaijan with these four reporters from around the globe, and we are staring at mud volcanoes, which like I didn't even know what that was until I got there. And it's essentially what it sounds like, these mud piles that are on like hot springs, I guess, and so it's causing it to bubble up. It's like a mini volcano. Um, so it's just like taking a moment to appreciate these ridiculous situations you get yourself in and just have a sense of humor about it.
Oh, yes, yes. I see, I like that. And I think life is like but a comedy. I don't know if that's a
Yes.
real quote, but
It is now.
It is now, Dayna. So
it is now.
You just gotta laugh to keep from crying, right? These are the moments that it just happens, and
it happens.
You move on, you go with it. Sometimes you just get that laugh. We all need a good laugh, especially in this climate. We need a good laugh.
Totally. And I think it's something that, like, if I'm honest, I learned that over time. Like in the early days, I was not laughing in these situations. I was so like, oh my gosh, am I going to get fired? Like, but now I don't know. Once you turn that corner, it's so fun to laugh about these things.
That happens. Anyways.
Moving on. Tomorrow's another day.
Love that.
Yes.
All right. So before we wrap up, I've got one more thing to ask you. This is the dun 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 dun. That's my dun dun.
I love it.
Forrest Gump finale. Okay.
Yes.
So if your career keeps unfolding like a Gump style adventure, where do you think the next unplanned, meaningful escapade will take you, personally or professionally?
I love that. I am going to answer your question, but the older I get, the more I realize, like, if someone ever asks me again in an interview, where do you see yourself in 5 years? I'm going to kind of laugh in their face, because and like when I was younger, I had a plan. I had like a 3, 5, 10-year plan. And to be completely honest, I realized a lot of that stuff, and that was great. But now I'm at a place where it's like, when like the opportunities that will come, I don't even know they exist right now. So how can I have a plan? So that's my short answer to your question. But my I'm going to answer your question moment is, so I've done the US, I have done Europe, I've done Asia. I would love to check out another continent. So I don't know if that's Africa or South America, but just getting to live and work on a new continent, I think would be in the cards for me.
Oh, okay. Oh, the places will go.
Oh, the places will go. What it is, where, I can't tell you any of that. But
we never know.
We never know.
We
never know. Yes, exactly.
Yes. Well, Dayna, this has been such a good conversation. I have enjoyed having you here and just hearing so much about your journey and your experiences. They mean so much, and I'm just glad to be able to laugh.
I know. Oh, good. I'm so happy. So happy. Well, thank you so much. I so enjoyed this conversation. I feel like we can go on for hours and forever. So we'll maybe have to take it offline so that we don't,
Oh, yes, definitely. Definitely.
This was fantastic.
And a pop-up.
Amazing. I love it.
In New York.
So yeah, please. Absolutely. Oh, I'd love to grab a drink. We can laugh the night away. So
yes, I'm here for it. Totally here for it.
Cool.
Right, so how can we get connected with you, Dayna? Where can we follow you? Where can we get connected? All the things.
So I think the easiest place right now is to go to DaynaAdelman.com. So DaynaAdelman.com. It links to my book. It links to my LinkedIn. It links to my Instagram. So it's a one-stop shop to be in touch, learn more about the book, learn a little bit more about me, and to connect.
Awesome. Well, hey, it's been a pleasure. We're definitely going to stay in touch.
Yes.
And thank you so much to our listeners for tuning in for this week's episode of the Brandinc PR Podcast. We'll see you next week.
Thank you so much. See you soon.